Welcome, Ximena, to the Success with Soul podcast. I'm so excited to have you on here. Right before we let the audience know who you are, but tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Indira. So I am an opera singer by training. I went to conservatory. I studied piano, violin, opera, all the things. And I've been a musician, yeah, for my whole life, essentially, since I was 2 years old. And when I had my son, Marcel, almost 5 years ago, I was so excited to share music with him and the music that I loved. And I was just doing that sort of naturally in my everyday life. And all my friends started asking me, like, what are you playing for him? What is this music in the background on like your Instagram video? And that's how my business was born, because I realized that a lot of people wanted this information and didn't really know how to navigate, like, what music to play, especially the classical and jazz music is so wide and difficult to navigate if you're not a musician. So that's how Juliet and the Elf was born. My second name is Juliet, and I always called my son the Elf. So we're Juliet and the Elf together. And we help families integrate classical and jazz music into their lives in an easy and doable way while having a profound impact in their children's brain development and in the adults' well-being. So that's essentially what we do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, what was your main reason for joining the incubator? Like, what led you to us?
Yeah, so this project or this company, I need to stop saying project, it's a company, is led with me and my cousin Margot. We're co-founders, and we had been doing it for 2.5 years or so. And I had been following Kate for a long time when she was doing 6FBA, and I really wanted to get into 6FBA, but then it just felt like spending money that we didn't have at the moment. And then 2 years in, I was getting really burnt out and we weren't moving the needle enough. And I was just feeling like either we get some advice or I think we're just going to let this go. And so that's when the incubator kind of started. And we were like, okay, I think this is the time. And the biggest push for us to join, honestly, were our husbands. They
Really?
both, yeah, they both, I mean, what we told them what the investment was, like what the amount was, and they both, had seen us work at it, at night after or putting our kids to bed, after working our other jobs, and just like putting our whole hearts into it and not seeing it grow like we hoped it would have grown for the first 2 years. It did grow, but just not enough. And they both were like, yep, this is what you need. You guys need to do this right now. And I was pregnant, very pregnant. I was about to give birth. And I was like, is this the right time? I mean, and they were like, just do it now. Like, just start now. And that way you start getting this learning and this advice and this guidance and coaching. And so, yeah, they were like the biggest proponents, both of our husbands.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
will say, I think this is the first time that I hear that particular story, that it's the partner that's like pushing you. You're so lucky.
Yeah, we are very lucky, both of us.
Yeah. Amazing. So I know that since you've been in the incubator, you have sold out your founders members launch. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was, I think the biggest thing for us in the incubator that has been incredibly valuable is that because we are two of us and we both think very differently. I think we're the only like two
You are.
people company, yeah, in the
Yes.
incubator. So we have a particular set of not issues, but approach because we are two people. So we have two different opinions. And I think the coaching in the incubator has allowed to be like a referee between us and also to be like the breaking opinion, like the third opinion outside that also has more experience. And so it has been able to unlock a lot of things that we would both get so stuck on. We would have an idea and then both of us would want to come at it from different points of view, and we would just get stuck in a vicious circle of like, if we do this, then we do this. What if we do this? What if we should do it that way or this way? Or other people do it this way? Should we do it? And we would just not be able to move forward. And that was the first few months of the incubator of Kate and Rachel. Well, Rachel wasn't there, but like Kate being like, come on, you guys, you have all these ideas, but you actually have to start like putting one foot in front of the other, like make a decision and move forward. And just like take imperfect action. I think that's like my motto that I'm taking away from the incubator. And so with the founders launch, what happened was that we wanted to do this course, and I was, I had the outline ready, we had workshopped it and all. And then we said, well, now we need all these other things. We need the sales page and we need the funnel, and we just have so many steps ahead of us. And in one of the calls, Rachel and Kate were like, wait a minute, you don't need any of that. Let's just get it out there. Just put together 5 emails, put it together, a checkout link, no sales page, no funnel, just like get it started. Say that it's imperfect, say that it's new, say that it's you getting started. Be open about that with your audience, and just start, just get out there. And that was so liberating and so relief. It was just such a relief to take away all those other steps. And yeah, we opened up 7 spots, and the 7 spots filled up immediately, or like within the first those 5 emails that we sent out. And now we released it to our wider audience. And now, but it just really, yeah, again, just the incubator has allowed us to really unblock us, to just get going, just move forward, make a decision. It doesn't have to be the perfect decision. Just make a decision and take action. And then if you have to correct, like you'll correct, and we'll workshop it. But yeah, that's how that came about.
Yeah. I think Kate always says action creates clarity. And it seems that that's exactly what happened with you and Margot. And then I know that inside the incubator, there's a whole module on like, just all you need is to create an offer and a place for people to pay you for the offer. And that's how you run at the very beginning, which it seems is what you did. So tell me about your course. I understand that your course sold out too.
Yeah, so the course for this first course that we're still putting out now, that was the other thing, I'm sorry, is that I thought you had to have a whole course like finished before you put it out.
And you do it as you go.
Yeah, just put it out as you go. I didn't want to do it live because my target is parents of newborns, and it was like finding a time for people to come online is just going to be impossible. So it's recorded, but I'm releasing it every 2 weeks, so I have time to build it out and to keep adding things as we go. So I'm still building it out now. But the course this first one is for parents who are from pregnancy through the first 12 months of their baby's life. Because especially the first 10 months is basically the smartest your baby will ever be, the most malleable their brain will ever be, is the first 10 months of
I missed it.
Yeah.
Mine is 11.
Oh, yeah. 11 months or 11 years old?
I wish, 11 years old.
Yeah, you're past it. No, yeah, those first 10 months, their brains are the most absorbent sponges they will ever be. So that's when they can learn the most complex concepts, which is movement, communication, emotion, all of that. They learn all of that in the first 10 months of their lives, language. And so that's the critical period to introduce them to complex music, which is essentially classical and jazz music, which is just music that isn't as predictable and as basic as, say, traditional like kids music, which is fine and lovely, and they learn words and vocabulary from that. But music and our auditory perception is such a complex part of our system and our sensory body that we kind of forget about doing that for our kids. Like we give our kids like our babies, lots of different foods and lots of different books. And we show, we take them to different places and different playgrounds and meet different people, but we kind of forget to expose them to lots of different music. And so
can I just interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Does the Baby Einstein CD count? Because I did do that.
Yeah, so that's kind of part of the theory, or part of the concept. A lot of the Baby Einstein and Baby Mozart is only Mozart, which is great, but Mozart is actually pretty predictable. Yeah, it's not that complex and unexpected. It doesn't have tons of dissonances or minor chords or things like that. It's still great and beautiful and has harmony and polyphony and orchestral and instrumental sounds. All of that is still great, but that's still limited to just basically one composer. And we show them tons of different composers. We also show them lots of jazz, because jazz is the most unpredictable kind, because it's all improvised and, it's constantly changing and modulating. So our course teaches, back to our course, that was a big roundabout way to explain. Our course teaches parents everything from like the science behind what is happening to your baby's brain when they're listening to this music, to how to use it actionably in your parenting. So how to use it for your routine. So we have a specific playlist for nap time, a specific playlist for bath time, a specific playlist for bedtime. And if you do it consistently and with the steps that we show you, that creates a neurological set of cues for your baby that when they listen to this music, immediately they become sleepy. Like it works, it's scientifically backed. And they just become used to having these transitions be musical versus you having to say like, it's bath time, it's bath time, it's bath time, and that becomes kind of annoying for them kind of pretty quickly. Instead, we use music. So you put the music on and they get the cue that, okay, this is what's happening now in this part of the day, especially when they're pre-verbal. So when in the first year of life, first 2 years of life, it becomes such a powerful parenting tool. And the third big thing that we show them is how to use music to help themselves. Because, parenting is hard at any age, but especially that first year is really, really hard and is lonely. And there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure and a lot of not knowing what you're doing and a lot of long days with a tiny baby and not talking to adults. And music can really help you feel better, and you feel, in an afternoon where it's been a long day of just you and the baby, and you'll play a certain playlist that we will share with you, and it'll just make like your mood like come up and your blood pressure comes up and you're like, okay, I got this. We just got 2 more hours. We can do this. I can do this. So the part of like adults' well-being and us feeling better is a big part of our course as well.
I love that. And I'm pretty bummed that was not around when I was a mom, because you're right, it is lonely. I spent the first 6 months I was a stay-at-home mom, and I spent the first 6 months, I didn't really leave the house, because I was nervous to like socialize him around other kids. It wasn't until he was 6 months that I started like my first mommy and me class.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It's a long time. I was home all day with my baby and my dog. And, obviously I would go out and stuff, but, your course seems amazing. I wish that would have been around when I was a young mom, and I can absolutely see the benefit. And now that I'm a mom of like a preteen, I'm wondering, as your baby grows, do you see this evolving to, okay, now let me hit different stages like toddlers and preteens? I mean, I'm hoping that you decide maybe I can do all ages at some point.
That's the plan for sure. So as soon as this course, I'm done finishing it, I'm putting out the next one, which will be from 1-year-olds to 3-year-olds, which is a really key part also because they're starting to be verbal. So you're going to start teaching them the names of music, because one of the reasons why kids always ask for like Baby Shark or Old McDonald's is because they know the name. We don't teach them names of other music, so they don't feel ownership of it. They don't know how to call out for it. So if you, as well as showing them those names, you're playing Mozart, or you're playing a playlist about the trumpet, and you're like, this is the trumpet, this is the trumpet, let's talk about the trumpet, then eventually, I guarantee, and I've seen it happen, kids will be like, I want to listen to a violin concerto, and they will, because they feel ownership because they can call it out. So between 1 to 3 is a really great age to teach them and to empower them to feel that this music belongs to them too, if they wanted to. And then the next one will be 3 to 6, which is now when they take all this exposure of all these different musics and kind of start deciding what they actually like and what they want to listen to over and over. But now it's not just restricted to like Coco Melon because that's the only thing they've been listening to. They have the option to choose anything they want. So my son, who's now almost 5, he goes through periods where like he only wants to listen to Duke Ellington. Then it's like the Beatles. Then right now he's like obsessed with Corinne Bailey Rae's Put Your Record On. Do you remember that song? Like,
Yes, of course.
That's like his favorite song of all time. Right now, this minute, you know, and or it has been long periods where he was obsessed with Singing in the Rain, and all he wanted to listen was the musical Singing in the Rain. But because he's been exposed to this plethora of different music, he gets to feel empowered and say, actually, right now, this is what I want to listen to, and this is what I want to listen to. And the great thing is, I love all this music too. So I don't care if we listen to Singing in the Rain 17 times in a row, versus I cannot, like, Baby Shark will drive me up the walls. And I think there's no one it can't drive. Like, it's an earworm that will just, and if you're already like anxious and nervous, it will make the whole household feel worse. So you want to expose your children to music that you also love, because we can't cover our ears. Like, music affects all of us. It will affect your entire household, your entire car. Like, there are so many instances where we are on a drive, and you know that point where like you need to get there and there's still like an hour to get there. And music has always been our savior. It's like, okay, everybody, we're gonna sing some fun songs. And you know what? Now I tell my son, he'll be like, how long is it left on this road trip? And I'm like, 5 more Beatles songs, and then we'll get there. And, you know, that's a really tangible thing for them to think about versus like 25 minutes. But yeah, the idea is to bring out courses according to ages, depending on the different developmental stages that they are in.
I love that you mentioned the Beatles. I will say that my son is a musician.
Oh, amazing.
So he plays the bass guitar, the piano, the violin, the drums. He has been listening to the music I listened to since he was a baby. So we never did Baby Shark either. I never did those like kid baby. He was listening to the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Queen is his favorite band. Awesome. He's like a classic rock, and obviously he likes classical music too. So I'm with you 100% with that. And I'm glad I never went the route of like the baby music, because it would be very stressful. I want to go back to something that you said originally when I asked you about joining the incubator, and you said at the time that you didn't, you weren't sure about making that investment when your business wasn't, making money. So tell me, like, what's one thing that you were resisting the most, but it ended up making like the biggest difference when you changed or you decided to start applying it?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I understood the question. What's one thing that I resisted the most once I was in the incubator?
Yes.
Or to get in?
Yes.
Okay. Here's what I can remember. That so I was pregnant. I was like 7 months pregnant when we got into the incubator. So I knew that I wanted to get a lot of things sort of moving before I had the baby, even though honestly I was on our Zoom call like 3 days after I had the baby, because it was like my me time. It's like, I have class, somebody watch the baby. But in the beginning, I did not want to go down the road of like, all the parts of like looking inwards and trying to figure out what kind of CEO I wanted to be, and what the visualization was, and the lunar cycle and the menstrual cycle, just like all that part of it. Or we would have calls where it would be, a meditation or a tarot card, and I'd just be like, I don't have time to do this. I have very limited time. I want to get like the practical stuff done. And that was just the phase that I was in, and it was okay to be in that time. And now after 10 months, 11 months that we've been in it, now I'm a different part of my life, and I'm being able to like practice yoga again and have some time for myself, and be able to take those times to have that inward exploration that is so essential. And it just had to come at the right time. But I think that was the initial part of the incubator that I was like, okay, whatever. I just want to, what's the 1, 2, 3, the steps, I got to follow.
Okay, so for our audience who doesn't know, you're referring to the soul part of the
Yes.
incubator, like the soul sessions, and um, really tell me about. Would you also categorize the mindset portion of that in that, or was that separate for you?
Um, I wasn't against doing the mindset work. It's just I kind of felt like I was in the right mindset.
Got it.
I didn't totally feel like I needed a lot of work on that part of it. I thankfully don't suffer a lot of like imposter syndrome or um it yeah, that wasn't really what I was in the incubator for. It wasn't self-doubt. It which I can see that happening at a different point, maybe at a different for a different project or a different part of this company even.
Yeah.
I can understand that completely. It wasn't really what I was in the incubator for. I think our biggest impulse to be in the incubator is that we had all these different parts of our business and we couldn't figure out how to connect them to make them work and to move the needle. And we couldn't figure out what was going to move the needle. And we had, read blog posts and listened to tons of podcasts and tried things. But because the things weren't really working, we couldn't tell what wasn't working. We just didn't have enough information. We didn't have someone to bounce it off of. And I think it was that we felt at some point we were just like throwing things against the wall to see what stuck and nothing was really sticking. And we didn't have the conviction of knowing that could eventually stick to keep trying either. So that was our main motivation to get into the incubator, is like, let's go into this place where they have all the information in one place. So we don't have to go scavenging around the internet for hours, which we don't have time to do that. I even took like I grabbed like a little SEO course at some point and I didn't finish. I just didn't have time to like dive so deep into one thing because there were so many things we had to take care of. So that was what we were really looking for in the incubator. And that is definitely what we got. Like what we got was guidance on how to connect these parts. What are the things that really have potential to move the needle? And therefore, if they're not working this first time, let's workshop it. Let's try it again. And like giving us that confidence that, yes, this is a good idea. This can work. Let's just try it from a different angle. And also at that point, we had a membership. When we entered the incubator, we had a monthly membership, which was lovely, but also it was a lot of work. It was consistent work. And we were more and more realizing, again, I was pregnant. I was about to have my second child. My co-founder has 2 children. We were just more and more realizing that with our lifestyle, we just didn't have time to like consistently put out content for our membership all the time. And it felt like such a huge pressure. And the incubator, talking with Kate, she allowed us to open up the window or the door of saying, what if we closed the membership? And we were like, what? But we just opened it like a year ago. How do we tell people? And she's like, you just tell people. You just tell people this is, no longer the thing we want to do. And now we're going to do this other exciting thing. And she just gave us permission to say, yeah, this is not right for our lifestyle. We want something else. So that was the biggest transformation that we've done in the incubators. We closed our membership and we moved towards making courses. And that was what we were looking for completely. So we definitely got what we wanted.
That's amazing. So what are like the top 3 things that you would advise somebody who's applying to the incubator? Maybe they're in the same place that you were, where it's like they have an idea, they have a business, maybe they're not making the money or they don't have the sales that they would want up to that point, and now there's this big investment. So what advice do you give that applicant?
Yeah. I mean, we had to like take out a couple credit cards with 0 APR to do it. We didn't have the cash flow to do it. And, we're still paying for it, of course. But we just feel like the worth was so, I can't even explain how much it was worth. But what is the advice? 3 things I would tell someone if they're in the position that I'm in is that by waiting, you're not going to make the money to be able to pay for this anytime soon, I think, is what we learned. by investing the money up front, of course, it's a lot of money, but by investing it, the amount of growth that you're going to be able to have in that time period that you're in the incubator is not comparable at all to the amount of growth that you're going to have isolated by yourself. And the reason is because not only is all this information in one place from a trusted source, and there's so much information in the incubator, there's information on anything that you need on any period or time frame that you are in your business. It's not just advanced, it's not just beginners, it's the whole range. So wherever you are, you're going to find a whole module with 7 different lessons about wherever you are, whatever you are doing. And the collective calls ground you in this community where you're hearing where everyone else is and you're learning from everyone else. And then the work critiques are giving you very targeted coaching and advice on specifically what you are working on. So the combination of all those things will just jumpstart your business and make you leap forward at such a faster pace that it just makes sense to make that investment. Because yes, maybe we'll be paying for this investment for the next year or two, but what we have achieved in this year will help pay for that. If we hadn't achieved that and we hadn't been in the incubator, we wouldn't have gone, there was no way we were going to generate that money before getting in the incubator. And what we have learned is so valuable and is going to carry us for the next several years of our business that is just completely worth it. And it's completely worth it to think of how being isolated is not going to get you to that place as quickly or as healthily also as the incubator allows you to be. Because that's the other part that Kate really works on, is being able to have you tune into what you need, what is good for your lifestyle, and just be able to give you permission to say, this is what you want to do and you feel like you should do it this way, do it that way. Let's figure it out and you can do it that way, and giving you that support. So I just don't think, it's a little bit of a roundabout way to answer of like invest first and then the money will come, but that's just how it is.
Yeah. I always say, if nothing changes. So it's a risk for sure. But what better risk than to invest in yourself and in your business? And we are glad that you did. Ximena, tell me one word to describe your experience in the incubator.
Liberating.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yay, I love that. Okay, so now we have come to the lightning round. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions. Oh, do you know this round? You're like, yes. Yeah. Okay, so the first question is, what's your favorite way to make time for self-care while running your own business?
Practicing yoga.
Is there a particular yoga you do?
Just regular, vinyasa sequences. Yeah.
What is one tool or strategy that you use for time management?
Free to focus planner and book.
I've heard about this.
Well, it's in the incubator or as one of the recommended tools. It's been essential for me to understand how to block time and sort of do tasks that are related to each other together. And then with the planner, which I'm pointing because I have always right next to me, it gives you every day how to break your week into 3 major things, and then each day into 3 things that are going to get you closer to those 3 major things. And it's just kind of clarified what I have to do each week.
I love it. What's the most powerful business, mindset, or entrepreneurial book that you've ever read?
Honestly, this past year, Free to Focus, I think, was the biggest one. Yeah.
And tell me the author.
Free to Focus is by Michael Hyatt.
Michael Hyatt. Yes. I'm like, he just did a new book in January. That's why I'm like,
did he?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Okay. What's your favorite quote or mantra or affirmation when things get tough and you feel like giving up?
Take imperfect action.
I love that. And you're in the Success with Soul podcast. So what does success with soul mean to you?
think it just means like embodying being an entrepreneur in exactly the way that feels right to you, not in accordance to what other people say it should be or what it should look like or what you traditionally, the steps that you should take. Is just really creating a business that looks like you and like your lifestyle. And people will come to you for that authenticity and that genuine realness. And I think that is what success with soul means to me. If I'm able to really create this business into a successful business that I feel proud of, that is completely in accordance to my personality and my life and the things that I love, then yeah, that's success to me.
I love it. Ximena, tell our audience where they can find you.
Yeah, so they can find me at julietandtheelf.com and on Instagram also Juliet and the Elf. And yeah, I would love to hear from them. And they will, if they sign up to my newsletter on julietandtheelf.com, they will start getting free playlists from me for different parts of the day and all kinds of resources for how to integrate music into your family's life.
Awesome. It was such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much, Ximena.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.